Hey, it's Monday night and time for VoiceOver Body Shop. I'm Dan Leonard in the West.
And I'm George Whittam in the East.
That sounds oddly familiar. Anyway, we've got a great show tonight. George is in Philadelphia or somewhere in Pennsylvania, and I'm back here in Southern California. We've got a great show tonight. Pamela Muldoon's going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking about social media and voiceover. Makes total sense to me. And she is an expert on that. And I'm sure you guys have lots of questions, but she's got some great stuff to show us. Also, we got a couple of tech questions, or at least one tech question involving these guys. You can't even see what it is, but we'll talk about it in just a couple of minutes on VoiceOver Body Shop, coming right up.
Two men, twin sons from different mothers, with a passion for voiceover recording technology and the desire to make recording easy for voice actors everywhere. Together in one place. George Whittam, the home studio engineer to the stars. A Virginia Tech grad with an unmatched knowledge of all the latest gear and technology in voiceover today. Dan Leonard, the home studio master. A voiceover actor with over 30 years experience in broadcasting and recording. And a no-holds-barred, myth-busting attitude for teaching you how easy it is. Together, to bring you all the latest technology, the superstars of voiceover today, and leading the discussion on how to make the most of your voiceover business. This is VoiceOver Body Shop.
VoiceOver Body Shop is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, home of Harlan Hogan signature products. Source Elements, makers of Source Connect, Source Connect Pro, and Source Connect Now. VO2GoGo.com, everything you need to become a successful voice artist. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for VO success. The VO Dojo, take your voiceover career all the way. And by VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your voice actor website shouldn't be a pain in the butt.
And now, live from their super secret multimedia studio in Sherman Oaks, California, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Good evening. I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
or VOBS.
Yes.
Close enough. All right. So, George, you're not here in Southern California where one would normally find you hanging out in Topanga Canyon or wherever it is that you hide out these days. What brings you to the Penn's Woods?
Oh, yeah. Well, I am back east to visit family. I brought Maxine with me on this trip, which is fantastic. She got to meet the parents.
Oh, boy.
Went really, really well, I have to say. And we're doing a little Pennsylvania extravaganza. We've actually chosen to do vacation in PA, but it's the perfect time of year to do it because it's autumn. The weather is amazing. We've spent time with the Amish today. We're going into Philly. We're having a great time out here.
Oh, great. You going to take her to the Franklin Science Center?
We're actually going to do the Philadelphia Art Museum.
Oh.
That's right. And we are going to, well, I'm going to run up the steps. She's going to videotape me.
Yeah, you can actually do that now. Anyway, tonight on our show, we've got Pamela Muldoon, who is an expert on social media and voiceover, and she knows her stuff. So that should be very, very interesting. So I'm sure you guys will all have a lot of questions. We'll be enwrapped in what it is she has to say. And that's coming up in just a little bit. We also have some tech news. If I can get it in there, there's actually a new Plancy's World, a new Halloween Plancy's World. If I can figure out how to get it as soon as Jacob gets home.
Is there a link in the rundown? Because I'll put it in there if it shows up in the rundown.
I'll find it in somewhere. Okay. Anyway, we've got all that. We also have a live studio audience tonight. Do we have the audience cam?
I see at least one particular audience member on camera. There he is.
Oh, Chris Metzalesta, who, by the way, was the very first caller on East West Audio Body Shop.
That's right.
And he said, "Is this Joe's Pizza?" So But he has a seat of honor as being one of the third person. Well, actually, he's the fourth because Dave Cavassier did our intro back then. But he was the fourth person heard when we went on episode 1. Go back on YouTube and watch that one, guys. That one's a lot of fun. Anyway, it's now time for...
And now, the VoiceOver Extra VOBS News, the latest and most comprehensive voiceover industry news. Brought to you live.
And here's the news for October 23rd, as soon as I turn that off. VoiceOver Extra News, Activate for Autism. Would you like to voice your support for awareness and acceptance of people with autism and at the same time speak out against bullying? Scores of performers are doing that now during National Bullying Prevention Month, and more are welcome to join the hashtag Activate for Autism public awareness campaign sponsored by the nonprofit Geek Club Books organization. The autistic are often misunderstood, marginalized, undervalued, and there are 3 times more likely to be victims of bullying, notes Jody Murphy, who is the founder and president of Geek Club Books. In a new article now on VoiceOver Extra, Jody explains that most people with autism grow up with a sense of shame because they've been stereotyped, judged as strange, and are often bullied for being different. And for Murphy, that's personal. Her son Jonathan is a union voice actor, and he's also on the autism spectrum, she says. But autism has never stopped him from getting work, thanks to his hard work, his talent, great training and coaches, and his professionalism. In the article, Jody mentions many voiceover professionals who are already helping, like Dave Fenoy, Katie Lee, Eric Shepard, Lindsay Shepard, Elaine Clark, Brian Summer, Jonathan Comer, and many, many more. Jody's connection to the voiceover world, in fact, began with Elaine Clark, who for years coached Jonathan and has produced his demos. So Murphy first approached Clark about participating in the autism campaign. Elaine, of course, said yes, which gave her the confidence to personally move forward, Murphy tells us. I started reaching out to other voice actors, sharing the vision, and over 90% said yes, a very generous group. I hope others want to make the videos too. End quote. If you'd like to see these videos and perhaps contribute one of your own, you can see details in the VoiceOver Extra article or visit geekclubbooks.com. By the way, when at VoiceOver Extra, also check out many hundreds of additional articles to help you out with your career. It's your one-stop stop for all your voiceover success. And that's the VOBS news for this week.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, Dan, right now I have to say that we can hear you, and y'all can hear me, but you can't see me because I've actually just lost control of the spaceship. So you guys are floating out in space right now.
Okay, well.
It is because the TeamViewer software on my machine crashed.
Okay,
and
well.
without TeamViewer running, I can't control a thing. So why don't you talk a little bit about what maybe somebody wrote in with or a question that's come in from the audience that we were going to talk about later.
Oh, okay.
While
well,
you riff on that, I'm going to see if I can get back into the system again.
Okay, very good. Well, that's an easy one because the question is about TRS, TS, and TRRS. Make sense? No.
I'll riff. If I hear something I can answer, I'll.
Okay, all right. Well, just carry on with what you're doing. Okay. Hello, George and Dan. This is from Paula Slater. I would like to use earbuds rather than headphones to listen to directions over Skype. What is the name and size of the adapter connector used to plug into the regular headphone socket? The only hardware in the booth is the monitor mic and an Audient ID14. Well, that's pretty good. The computer is outside the booth. Excellent. And I have a few of these adapters, but the earbud does not fit the ones I own. I've been searching the web, but I am unaware of the size that would be suitable for generic earbuds. Well, what we're talking about is TRS and TS, and then there's TRRS. And what does TRS stand for? It stands for, this is here, let me just get a close-up of this here. This is the tip, this is the ring, and this is the sleeve. That's what TRS stands for. Sometimes you'll notice it's what's called a stereo plug. Also a balanced plug. And then there is, well, there we go. Then there is just the tip ring sleeve, or just the tip sleeve. But what you're looking for, since what you probably have is if you've got the 1/4-inch one, this is the 1/4-inch TRS. If you've got a 1/4-inch TRS and you want to be able to plug into a mini TRS, what you do is you get an adapter like this one, if you can see it, that goes into a 1/4-inch and then goes into the sub mini. Or the other way around, this is a great one. You can go into a sub mini into a TRS. Unfortunately, these are the things that you would walk into Radio Shack and just grab. But no longer. Now you've got to go. They have them at Banjo Emporium and a couple other places. Actually, I think they actually have them at Target. But finding adapters is no big deal. It's just, you just remember TRS, 1/4-inch, sub mini, all that kind of stuff. The sub minis are the small ones. And the 1/4-inches are the ones that look like they're about a 1/4-inch across. So anyway, and we'll be right back here on VoiceOver Body Shop, so don't go away.
As a voice talent, you have to have a website. But what a hassle getting someone to do it for you. And when they finally do, they break or don't look right on mobile devices. They're not built for marketing and SEO. They're expensive. You have limited or no control. And it takes forever to get one built and go live. So what's the best way to get you online in no time? Go to voiceactorwebsites.com. Like our name implies, voiceactorwebsites.com just does websites for voice actors. We believe in creating fast, mobile-friendly, responsive, highly functional designs that are easy to read and easy to use. You have full control. No need to hire someone every time you want to make a change. And our upfront pricing means you know exactly what your costs are ahead of time. You can get your VoiceOver website going for as little as $700. So if you want your voice actor website without the hassle of complexity and dealing with too many options, go to voiceactorwebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
VO2GoGo.com. Everything you need to be a successful voiceover artist. VO2GoGo.com's voiceover curriculum is a 5-time winner of Backstage Magazine's Reader's Choice Award for Best VO Classes and Best VO Teacher David H. Lawrence XVII, who I was just talking to the other day. It's 36 classes, online or in person, across a year-long course featuring not just classes in the art of voiceover, but also in the commerce and science of running your voiceover business. And each month's class day includes a workout class for all participants. Unlock the entire curriculum at once. Over 45 hours of training, videos, audio samples, and live workouts where you work on mic. Get more details and sign up for the pro membership to save money at vo2gogo.com/VOBS. That's vo2gogo.com/VOBS. vo2gogo.com. Everything you need to be a successful voiceover artist.
Learn the
latest in voiceover technology
business
and good old-fashioned acting.
Hey, Paul, I really like your suit. Where did you get it? It looks good on you.
This is VOBS.
In a world of audio, 2 men knew what they were doing, or at least they have you convinced. They put the BS in VOBS.TV.
Thanks for joining us once again for another episode of VoiceOver Body Shop. Every Monday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
VoiceOver Body Shop. I love when they talk BS about VO.
And we are back here on VoiceOver Body Shop. And, if people only knew what it takes to put this show together when nobody's here. I'm all alone. There isn't a soul in this place. No, that's not true at all. We actually have an audience tonight, which makes it even more interesting. But there's no audience. Actually, there is an audience cam somewhere, but Let's see if George can find it there. And anyway, let's introduce our guest because she's been just waiting patiently to get on the show tonight. Pamela Muldoon. She is a professional voice actor, which qualifies. Well, there's Chris Metzelesta there, ladies and gentlemen. She is the marketing director for World Voices, something I personally know something about. And she is the content strategist for the Pedowitz Group, which is a marketing agency. Let's welcome to VoiceOver Body Shop, Pamela Muldoon. Welcome, Pam.
Hey, Dan.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
we talk all the time, but I never get to see you very much.
I know. It's always on little chat boxes.
Yeah.
Email.
And it's usually something demanding. I need this and I need that. Okay, great. Well, we got a lot of marketing to do with WoVO, but we also need to do a lot of marketing with ourselves as voice actors. Now, a lot of people, are questioning the use of social media. But let me ask you this. What's the number one mistake freelancers and small business owners make when it comes to social media?
Well, Dan, it's social media has changed. I've been in this digital game for 10 years already. I've been on Facebook for 10 years. I've been on LinkedIn for 10 years. I feel like an old veteran at this point. And I would say that one thing that stayed consistent over the last 10 years as I've helped businesses from all shapes and sizes is lack of strategy. Mm-hmm. Just really diving in and just doing social media. And those are actually words that make me cringe a little bit when folks say I do social media, and not actually taking a step back and asking some important questions in what they want to achieve in terms of their marketing of their business, using social media as one of many ways in which you can connect with your audience. So strategy and plan is probably the number one, I would say, mistake that we as voiceover talent, freelancers, small business owners are making right now.
Okay, well, strategies are important for everything. If, strategy is important in playing bridge, for crying out loud.
Right.
And
poker.
And poker. Yeah, but not euchre. I hate euchre. Anyway, is there a method or a process we can use to help us setting up a strategy?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on tonight in terms of that. And so when I think about strategy, I want to make this really simple for the audience, because when we as independents, we're busy already, just, doing the hustle, doing the work, right?
Right.
So marketing becomes this, for many, a necessary evil they have to participate in, but it's probably one of the most important times well spent when they're not doing the actual job, right? So one of the things I want folks to take a step back and ask are a couple of questions. What is the business objective you're looking to achieve when you're using something like social media? So with social media, it's really important to understand that for the most part, it's an awareness stage of the marketing process. It's to bring awareness to who you are as a talent, as a business person, as an individual. It's an awareness to let people know your secret sauce. And that brings you then into building the relationship to further move along other opportunities, right? To connect more individually, that type of thing. So I think sometimes we lose sight of that at the end of the day, social is an awareness. It's about being aware. So there are three when it comes to the marketing process. When I say objectives, do you want to increase your leads, new blood into your database, for example, new blood into your funnel per se? Do you want to increase revenue? Increasing revenue is a very different conversation than increasing leads, right? You can
Absolutely.
Increase revenue with current customers, right? So do you want to increase revenue, or do you want to increase customer retention, which is another very different question? Those are just three kind of basic points that I touched on just to keep it simple for tonight's conversation. And just being aware that when you're asking those questions, the next question is, how can I use social media to help me achieve that? So that's just the beginning parts of kind of developing a strategy towards making some decisions on what am I going to do out here? What platforms am I going to choose? Really understanding why you're out there and what it is that you want to achieve is going to be critical to getting started.
Yeah. Well, it's been a discussion in the voiceover community for a while that, you got to get on social media, and then lots of people are throwing out all sorts of different things about where you should be and what you should be doing. And, I would tend to think, from being the old school person I am, that everything is about consistency and frequency. And that's probably something that applies even to social media, which it's a total different idea from what we used to think of in broadcasting and stuff like that. Now it's a chance to actually promote yourself. It's the democratization of self-promotion.
It is. So it levels the playing field, right? I mean,
right.
Dan, that's one of the best things about it, right? Is I can literally use the same tools that, say, a large corporation, a big, enterprise like Microsoft or Apple could use, right? We're all on the same platform.
Right.
Now, yes, we have different budgets and we have different resources. So we take that into consideration. But you're absolutely right. You brought up broadcast. I'm an old radio gal myself, right? Used to actually be a copy director.
Me too.
So I started my marketing career back when it was all analog, no digital. And we literally wrote in the traffic log and all that jazz. But one of the things you brought up is consistency. Well, a great example in broadcasting is when an automotive dealer would buy the blackout, right?
Right.
And they would run that same ad, that same 60-second ad on your shift every break.
Yeah, get a rotation of about 5 an hour. It's like,
and though you got really sick of it, you reminded yourself they're paying my bills this month. So
I know this is off topic, but what is a blackout?
Oh, that's a great question, George. Yeah, you've got two old radio folks chatting, and we're just not even sharing the wealth here. A blackout is basically when they're buying a full spectrum of spots on throughout the day, right? So they're literally buying a blackout. They're blacking out the ads. They're going to get every open slot they possibly can and just run that ad every break, every hour, as much as they can in terms of what's available on the log.
Driving traffic managers everywhere, totally insane.
Yes. And that's when the traffic manager comes running into the studio and writes on your log, X auto, X auto, X auto. And we probably still, I think the change now today with broadcasting is our set breaks have just gotten longer, but we still have a very similar approach. So yes, consistency. It's kind of like in real estate, it's location. Consistency still is an extremely important part of anything we do digitally. And since we are now much of a more flat technology-based opportunity, we get to do the same things that large organizations do. But my hope is that I can provide a couple of tips on how we can bring this big, huge monster to more of a dull roar.
Yeah.
And also, talk a little bit tonight about some of the best practices, what's working, what might not be working, just some things to be aware of. I think knowledge is truly power, but the use of that knowledge is even more powerful. And so even just when you know what your limitations are, because the platforms are companies in and of themselves, and there's a reason that they charge for certain things and why it's getting harder to be seen and heard, right? Organically on some of these. We just have to be aware that this is a true business model for these companies, but they also offer, I think broadcast is a great example. When you're looking at something like Facebook that has now over 2 billion people on it, more than likely your audience is sitting out there. So being able to kind of bring all that to a dull roar so you can get in front of them, it's not easy, but it's definitely consistency and strategy kind of working together.
All right, so let's talk about some of these platforms, because everybody says, oh, you got to be on this one. Oh, you got to be on this one. I know my mother's on that one. You don't want to be on that one anymore. So when it comes to the actual social media platforms, are some better than others to use for marketing your business?
I will say yes as the short answer, but then I will also say it depends, which drives people crazy. Marketing gets away with that right now. Right?
Okay.
Because there is no silver bullet. And I'm going to come back to your consistency piece a little bit as I walk through some of these. I'm going to talk about what I call the big three. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter are considered still today the big three. We have Instagram, Snapchat. I mean, some even consider, some of these, I call them content platforms, but your YouTubes and things like that. They're more content platforms that can be used in conjunction with social media. So I don't consider them social platforms as much as I consider it an actual media platform. But that's really what's happening with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, for example, is they're becoming true media companies. And actually, in light of what's been going on, with some of the advertising challenges and targeting with the post-election, we're actually holding their feet to the fire that they're a media company now, and they need to be responsible just like any other broadcast media from back in the day, right? So I think understanding that and understanding where this is going is really critical. But I mentioned like 2 billion people on Facebook. So I want you to think about that.
2 billion.
2 billion.
It's only two.
And China still doesn't have the IP to get onto Facebook. So think about that. That blows my mind when I think about where we were 10 years ago to where we are today. But you mentioned like this idea that my mom's on Facebook or my kids are on Facebook and those types of things. I think what's really important is we live in a 360-degree, 365, 24/7 world. So what does that mean? We have all been guilty of, as parents, as just individuals, what are we doing when we're out shopping or when we're sitting at our kids' soccer game in the bleachers? What do we have in front of us? And we're probably skimming. We're totally guilty of looking at Facebook while we're doing something else or while we're spending our life outside of our work world.
Never.
No. There's no digital addiction, right? It's all made up. But I think that's really important to understand because these platforms are becoming, even Facebook, which seems like more of a consumer-driven model. We're talking with VoiceOver, for example, as a B2B model, business to business. Other businesses hire us, right, to do the work we do. But our business people are just like us. They're spending time on these platforms as 360-degree creatures. So what we want to do is get in front of them. But we have to also understand that when we use something like Facebook, when we have a business page organically, because Facebook wants to make money off of those 2 billion people, it's basically a 2 billion person database to them, right?
Right.
So they have now made it virtually impossible for us to organically be seen by our followers, those that like us on Facebook. For example, it's like a 1 to 3% of your Facebook business page will ever see you at any given time. So it's like trying to climb an uphill battle. So it's getting to the point where it's extremely important to understand the advertising mechanisms that these platforms provide. They are pennies on the dollar compared to some of the other options out there, such as, say, Google AdWords can get very expensive for our industry. But it's an opportunity to get very targeted. But the key is that you still have to know your audience extremely well to provide the content in front of them that's going to resonate, that's going to connect with them.
Right, and we're talking about voice actors here,
correct.
And we know that there's more than 5 or 6 of us out there. So trying to break through the cacophony of all of this is really, it takes some real fine tuning, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And so what I've been recommending to, when folks just ask me one-on-one is that when I say get to know your audience, I really mean get to know your audience. So, I think what we're talking about here, Dan, too, is pretty much non-union work, right? For the most part, where we're out doing the hustle. Right. And because how you go about some of the, agency work, et cetera, that's kind of an entirely different conversation. And there you can use social for just awareness to let people know that, hey, I'm with this agent or I'm out here, right? I'm out here, right? But when it comes to this non-union hustle, and I know a lot of us do e-learning, for example, right? That's a very popular non-union approach to business. It's really understanding the titles of the people that hire you, the indirect titles of the people that are connected to the people that hire you, and using your platforms to provide solution to their problem. We are all extremely selfish, and marketing is our opportunity to recognize that our audience is truly in charge today. All they have to do is click away within a second. They don't have to like you. They don't have to share you. But if you're providing information to them that solves a problem, and sometimes a problem they didn't even know, right? Perhaps there's people in our audience that don't really realize the difference between professional voiceover versus our, my cube mate did this because we had to, make things a little less expensive in the budget this quarter, right?
Right.
So being able to show that you understand them, that you feel their pain, and that you're there as a solution provider, I think is critical. but then use your platforms. This is where I love LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is an underused opportunity for our industry in this regard. And even though there's a chance to get in front of millions of people, it still really is about those one-on-one connections that we can develop. And LinkedIn is an opportunity to definitely do that.
Yeah. No.
LinkedIn has gotten
Go ahead, George.
I'm sorry, Dan. LinkedIn has gotten so much more. Maybe it's been this way a while, but so much more. I don't know, personal. There's all this birthday wishing and all this stuff going on.
I'm not seeing that on LinkedIn.
Right? It's feeling a little Facebooky, right, George?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to remember Microsoft purchased LinkedIn, 2 years ago? Okay. I mean, I think that is, it may not seem important, but for me as someone in the marketing industry, I'm always tapped into what's happening because that changes how the platform is used. So LinkedIn is kind of has gone through some growing pains, to your point, right? Where as it's gotten larger and more accessible, we're seeing some of the same or similar activities that you see on Facebook. People are calling it out. They're saying this isn't appropriate. I think it'll eventually weed off or start to calm itself down because it is still truly the number one business professional site. There's over 500 million professionals now on LinkedIn. Here's the kicker with something like LinkedIn. I'm a big believer in trying to stay on some of the statistics. That when you fill out that platform and you're filling it out correctly and you're getting all that information in play, it becomes a great search engine optimization within Google, Bing, et cetera. Okay. And that becomes a really critical part to why LinkedIn can be important for you. I think too, LinkedIn just launched video just like Facebook did. So this might be weird, George, right? Because we're going to see some LinkedIn video like Facebook video, but
it's inevitable.
Yeah, it was inevitable. Because they're also trying to up their ante with advertising, things like that. I do recommend for us as independents not to purchase advertising. LinkedIn is going to probably, send me a note after this. They're much more expensive than Facebook to do LinkedIn advertising. I don't think you need to do that on LinkedIn, but use the tools like video, for example. Find ways to share your story to the audience and solution-driven story in 30-second, 1 minute, 1.5 minute snippets. And I think you're going to see that there's a lot of businesses are getting leverage with the video components of LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Now, as you were saying, LinkedIn is a very personal thing. And, and some of the strategies I've seen are to really, when you connect with somebody, it's not like, and on Facebook, people are like, hey, like my page, friend me here, that sort of thing. And we've all got several thousand people, 99% of whom were like, who the heck is this person? But on LinkedIn, at least, it's very targeted to, you're looking for video producers, or you're looking for agents, you're looking for people who are casting people, and you're trying to make a direct connection with them. Yes. Using video is probably going to be very, very effective, but doesn't it usually involve, hey, thanks for linking with me, this is what I do, or is that too presumptuous just when you're starting off on LinkedIn?
Yes and no. I mean, it is truly the business networking site. So your point in terms of individual, I think, is really critical here. Of course, you can have a LinkedIn company page, but a lot of us as independent business owners, it's just not worth our time, energy to really work that business page as much as it is our personal profiles. Of course, you can have a business page that adds to your exposure, right?
Right.
But in terms of what we want to do individually, yes. What I think, again, is important about using some of these components is if you're connecting with the right people, when you are building the relationships one-on-one, take the time to actually introduce yourself. And like one of my pet peeves is getting connections on LinkedIn with the default LinkedIn. I want to connect with you on LinkedIn or whatever that default is.
Oh, yeah. This
is networking. It's networking 101. Whenever we go to a VO conference or we're at our local chamber or that type of, we have to step outside behind our, get out of our booth, right? We actually have to shake a hand once in a while and we have to say hi. And it's all about, again, think of this as everyone is selfish. The more that you can stroke an ego of someone else and make them feel special or show that you've done homework around that person, you have more of a chance to build the relationship. And for me, I love that LinkedIn has these profiles that tell me their entire story. I can talk about their college. I can talk about maybe a past job they have. I've actually made connections on LinkedIn because I go scroll down and I see, oh, they worked at a local radio station while in college. I'm going to say, hey.
Remember those days?
Exactly. So it's like finding those connections as opposed to selling yourself first and then just open the door. You can even say in the connection, I'm a professional voiceover talent, and one of my joys is just making new contacts within the production or the audio world or whatever the case is. Most people are open to that, especially if you've walked in saying, hi, you're pretty cool. I read this about you. Tell me more.
Right.
Pamela, there's so much to talk about. And there was something you said a minute ago that I just wanted to make sure I was hearing you right, because I think it's probably really important.
Yeah.
Did you say that keeping your Facebook, not Facebook, I'm sorry, but your LinkedIn profile updated is really important because of SEO? Did you say that SEO is affected by what is on your LinkedIn page?
Yes, most definitely. And the best way to know if you're doing well with this is just simply go to Google and Google your name, right? When you Google your name, where does your LinkedIn profile fall? Mine is always like it's sometimes above my website because I'm always stroking the SEO juice a little bit on my LinkedIn profile. This is another reason I love LinkedIn is it's kind of a trial and error, right? What's my focus? And so keeping your summaries above the fold, but having keywords in a story format, not, bullets, keyword, like it's a list for you're buying Google ads, right? It's truly a story, but you're very cognizant of what you're saying. What do you want to be found for when people are searching in LinkedIn? And of course, the greater SEO, right? Is it audio production engineer? Is it voiceover actor? Is it female professional voiceover? What are some of those key phrases? And make sure you've incorporated them. And I also say, don't be afraid to talk about your entire history on LinkedIn. One of the things that I have in my personal past is I used to be a trainer for inside of the companies I worked for. So I trained adults, HR training and sales training, that type of thing. So I know how to develop training, and I want my e-learning contacts to see that. I want them to see that I understand a little bit about their world. I just happen to now do it from a voiceover perspective. It's also why I keep all my radio information on LinkedIn as well, because I want to connect the dot to how many years I've been behind the mic.
All righty. If you're just tuning in, if that's what you do on the internet, we're talking with Pamela Muldoon, who's an expert on social media and how it affects you as a voice actor and how you can market yourself better. If you have a question for Pam, and I'm sure you're all sitting there going, well, what about this? What about that? Now's the chance to throw it in the chat room, and Jack Daniel, our director of social media, will direct those questions directly to us, and we will then pass them on to Pam, and she will answer them, and then we'll sound really cool, like we actually know what we're talking about. Anyway, we're going to talk to her a little bit more in just a second, so stay tuned. We'll be right back here on VoiceOver Body Shop. Don't go away.
Are you confused about how to set up and maintain a professional quality voiceover studio? No wonder. The information out there is mostly mythology. This is the best microphone to use. You have to have a preamp. You need a soundproof booth. This software is the best. Your audio must be broadcast quality. Consult with someone who knows the truth. Someone who's been there, in the trenches, doing voiceover for over 30 years. Someone with unparalleled experience with voiceover studios, who's worked with hundreds of voice actors and designed hundreds of personal studios. He knows how to teach and cares about your success. In one of the harshest environments known to voiceover, your home. Dan Leonard, the Home Studio Master. Separate myth from fact and get a handle on your personal voiceover studio. Contact the Home Studio Master at homevoiceoverstudio.com. Drop off a specimen of your dry audio for a free analysis.
Hey, everybody. Well, I'm here to tell you about one of our sponsors on the show, and that is Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect, that software, that magic software that allows your studio to connect to others around the world with high quality, really reliable sessions. It allows the studio to record you remotely, real time. This isn't Skype quality, Zoom quality, or any of these other systems that have varying quality over the course of a session, this is consistent from top to bottom, start to finish. Your quality will be locked. It will not change. Your latency or your buffer will not, nothing drifts. It always stays in sync.
VoiceOver Body Shop. Learn the latest in voiceover technology. Learn how to get rid of that. VoiceOver Body Shop, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, on VOBS.us.
And we are back here on VoiceOver Body Shop, and George and I are talking with Pamela Muldoon, who is an expert on social media and voiceover, which is a fascinating topic because there's just so much out there. And one of the areas we didn't talk about, Pam, was Twitter. You know, that Twitter thing that all them kids is doing, you know, and the president and a number of other people. Yes. So what's the secret to, is Twitter that essential for helping us promote us in our voiceover careers?
Twitter has really taken on an interesting, I guess, shift. I'll call it a shift in the last year. And yes, part of it is the challenge with some of the, government officials out on Twitter. It makes it a little more challenging to, it's still a very productive platform. There's just a lot more going on than how it's been used for the most part in the last years up to this point. So here's the thing about Twitter. It is a faster feed, right? You've got this kind of stream of consciousness, constant flow of conversation. The folks that are using Twitter are pretty religious about using Twitter. And so you will never hear me say, Dan, you have to be on this or you have to be on that. I am just not that person. I don't believe that. I think, one, you have to really want to be on the platform to be successful at it, because we hear the word authentic, but it's very true. If you're not authentic and you're not yourself and you really don't enjoy hanging out there, just don't do it. It's totally fine to say no. I, for one, have never opened a Snapchat and probably never will.
And you're not missing anything.
It's just not my thing. And I'm even in the space, and I just talk to my friends' kids and my niece. And then I feel I know what's going on. But Twitter still has about 1.5 billion people on it. Here's a couple of stats of why you still want to consider Twitter. Twitter is great for that awareness. Again, social media is awareness. When you're driving people to a link to something else, Twitter is a very productive tool for that. It's also extremely mobile, right? So when you look at how many people are using it, of those, say 120 million are using it on every 30 days. That's kind of an average stat. 83% of them are doing it on mobile. So it's extremely important to understand that this is a very mobile platform. Most of us are doing it through our phones or through our iPads, but mainly through the phones. Video views are also a big component. Imagery has become extremely important on Twitter. Again, think about this from a phone. It's just a scrolling concept, right? It's one of the things whenever I'm working with clients and they want to start posting things on Twitter, one of the things I start asking about is, what images are you going to use to go with that? You can't just send to a blanket link. You want images to go with that if you can possibly do that. And of course, our websites usually do pull up images. But here's the kicker. Surprisingly, 47% of people who that are clicking on Twitter, if they're following you on Twitter, about 47 to 50% will actually go to your website. That's how people are getting that awareness factor. And even though it's a fast moving train, it still holds a lot of value for that awareness. But again, it's consistency. And if you really want to build a relationship, you still have to retweet other people that are influencers in your audience. And I don't mean just other voiceover people. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make, Dan, is that we focus too much on voiceover in our marketing.
Yeah, I mean, how many voiceover friends do we need? I mean, we have a community. It's great to hang out and everything, but we don't hire each other for the most part. For the most part,
you're absolutely right. And unless you are, in a situation where your audience is voiceover, right? We've got demo producers and what George does with his production and technical skills, right? That's an entirely different ballgame. Of course, he should be promoting and marketing to this audience. But my audience are e-learning production houses, right? My audience are training developers inside of large companies who have budgets, who can actually hire me, right? So it's really understanding a lot about your audience and how they're using the platforms. I don't care which one you're talking about. And that's where hashtags come in. We see them, they can sometimes be extremely annoying, but again, some of the statistics coming down on Twitter is that when you use hashtags in a tweet, it gets twice as much engagement as when it does not have a hashtag. And that's because a hashtag brings it to a dull roar, right? Hashtag e-learning, hashtag video games, hashtag, right? What's your niche? If you want to start conversations or find people or influencers in your audience, use those hashtags because that's where those people are hanging out.
All right. Again, we're talking with Pamela Muldoon. We're talking about social media. You shared the one mistake that people are making on Facebook. What are some of the other mistakes people make when it comes to social media? Now let me just preface this. I used to think that I knew everybody in this business. Right. And mostly because I would meet them all on Facebook. And then I started looking at the rosters of agencies here in Hollywood, and I'm like, who are all these people? Obviously people who are not hanging out on Facebook trying to get voiceover work.
Right. Yeah, it is. I think it is one of our mistakes. I mean, what we have today, especially on Facebook, are groups, right?
Yeah.
So groups is a great place for us to hang out with our community. And there, let's face it, not a lack of voiceover groups on Facebook, right? You could spend a big chunk of your day in those groups. But I think that's a great opportunity and ability for us to stay connected as an industry. Fantastic. But some of the mistakes that I see us make, and I use the blanket general us, we only promote ourselves. We only talk about ourselves. There's this kind of belief that the more, you go back to consistency. If I consistently push out my demos, eventually someone will listen to them, hire me for a big job. And that's not quite how it works. Actually, people get turned off by that very, very quickly. So I think really understanding that the balance of how much you promote yourself, if we're looking at this as 100%, the balance of you promoting yourself probably falls into the 10 to 15%. The other 75 to 80 is about answering questions that your audience needs to know, or providing information, retweeting people, finding other curated content from your audience that you can share and build relationships with. When you make it all about yourself, it just doesn't fly, and the audience owns and controls this world right now. So we have to be extremely aware of that. And then I mentioned hashtags. The mistake I see too is either none, like on Twitter, for example, or too many. The sweet spot for Twitter is 2 hashtags. That's the sweet spot. Statistically, it's 2. You do something like Instagram, it's an entirely different conversation. It's a visual platform. The hashtags are literally a part of the DNA. And there, the sweet spot is about 11 hashtags. So it's an entirely different platform. And so I guess that kind of feeds into the other mistake, which is we're not taking the time to learn and understand each platform if we're going to actually use it. You can't blanket this stuff. LinkedIn is different from Twitter, is different from Facebook. And even though Facebook owns Instagram, it's still a very different platform.
All righty. Well, we're going to take a break right now. We're talking with Pam Muldoon, and we're talking about social media. And I know, according to our social media manager, we have a pile of questions from our voluminous audience all across the Fruited Plain and various other places. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here on VoiceOver Body Shop. Do not go away. More with Pam Muldoon right after these.
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. Now there's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverextra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, casting, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports and get 14 bonus reports on how to ace the voiceover audition. It's all here at voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com. voiceovergarden.com.
Style. Power.
You're watching the home of the NFL.
The all-new iPhone.
Reserve your Disney World season pass now.
Through all the runny noses, 3 a.m. coughs.
An all-new American Crime Story, tonight on FX.
This week only, it's Pasta Fest at Olive Garden.
Heart rate, prime. Blood pressure, perfect.
I grew up with the classics, and now with StubHub, I can get authentic tickets to the best shows.
The all-new Chevy Cruze from $16,995.
Be inspired, then get the beauty that's uniquely yours at Sephora.
This week at Home Depot, it's our Garden Fest sale with up to 30% off all garden tools, sod, and seeds.
Hi, it's J. Michael Collins, and these are just a few examples of the first-class demos my team and I are producing. If you'd like to have something similar, visit jmcvoiceover.com and click on the Demo Production tab to find out more.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching VoiceOver Body Shop.
You know, VoiceOver knows no holidays. It never fails. You take a trip and a super important audition or are you available Christmas Eve for a quick session email arrives. Well, that's why Harlan Hogan developed the Portabooth Plus. It saves the session every time. And it only weighs 4.5 pounds and safely tucked into our carry-on travel bag. The Plus is the perfect traveling companion and qualifies for every major airline is carry-on, saving you time and money. Your microphone, headphones, desk stands, and preamps store inside, protected by the durable Auralex studio foam that lines the booth. It's the same acoustic foam used by virtually every professional recording studio in the world. Now, once settled into a hotel room, Harlan puts the Portabooth Plus on an ever-present ironing board. It adjusted just the right height and has room for his laptop. All you got to do is go down to the bottom of the page right in front of me here, click on the picture of Harlan Hogan talking into his Portabooth Pro, and it will take you right to voiceoveressentials.com, and you can buy a Portabooth Plus or Pro. Great unit. It's super for voiceover, and nobody's more super than Harlan Hogan, our favorite sponsor at voiceoveressentials.com. Thanks, Harlan. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Harlan. And we are back.
What?
We're back.
Hey, we're back. All right. And we're talking with Pam Muldoon, and we have a pile of questions here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So why don't we delve into those right now?
Okay, let's do it.
First off, from Johnny Silva, or it might be Joni Silva. It's Joni Silva. Thank you, Joni. I would like to ask Pam if there is something specific beginning talent should do on LinkedIn. I just changed my business to voice actor. Should I do that or create a different profile?
That's an easy question. Joni, is it?
Yes.
Actually, it's against LinkedIn's terms of service to have more than one individual profile.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. And even though they're a large company, we want to follow the rules. It's just going to make your life easier. And honestly, this is where the filling out of your profile is really critical. So you've got your headline section. You can have, I think it's 160 plus characters. And those are highly, highly driven keyword. That's keyword rich up there, your headline. I encourage you to check out other profiles that are filled out well as an example. And I always throw mine out because I know people are going to look anyway. But I've been keeping on top of mine pretty well over the past 10 years. So go ahead and check mine out, Joni. And you'll notice what I mean by the headline. What you want to be able to do is just tell a succinct story in your summary. Your summary is really critical, but you want to keep it above the fold. And when I say above the fold, it's basically, on our laptops and our desktops, if we still have a desktop, I guess Apple has the monitor. I've had laptop for so many years. People don't want to scroll. We're lazy by nature. We have literally seconds to get attention. And once we've got it, you don't want to make them work for it. I think that's a real critical component to when we're putting these items together. And don't be afraid to be a full person on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to let the world know that now you are a voiceover actor, but you also had a life before that. And that life, it makes you who you are. And all of that kind of comes into play, okay, with who you are as a person. So just make sure that you're taking the time to really fill that out. And then I can't stress enough putting your skills into your profile as well. You can place up to 50 skills. And Dan, George, you've probably been endorsed, right, on LinkedIn
a few times,
right? And those are your skills. And you can actually edit how people see those skills. So Joni, put voiceover as one of the top 10 skills so that that's one of the first things people see, right? As one of the things that you are now known for. So really take the time to do that, because here's how I look at it. When you start asking people over to, I kind of call LinkedIn my networking house, right? When you start asking people over for dinner, you better clean up the living room. And that's really what I want you to do first, is focus on your profile, then start to make some solid connections on LinkedIn, because they're going to do their due diligence and read your profile.
All right. That's great. Here's one from Dvox. What are some other terms and concepts that we need to be aware of to better connect with and serve clients?
Terms and concepts. I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
Just have her sit in Chris's chair.
Kind of a general question, I think, but
yeah,
it's sort of maybe a tip perhaps that would be make it easier to connect with clients through the use of social media.
So I say kind of take a step back and use social media as your research tool. And this is where, again, I love LinkedIn for this. I think it provides a more robust opportunity. Start to make a list of the different clients. And a lot of us don't know the names of every production house, for example, or e-learning house, right? Or e-learning opportunity. But start to make a list of kind of key phrases or companies or titles of people, and then start doing research on LinkedIn to see what they say about themselves. People, just like I told you to tell the world, right? I told Joni and everybody, tell the world about how wonderful you are through this storyline. This is how you can do research on your audience so that you can start to understand how to better connect with them. Does that make sense?
Pull that mic down.
Use the platform as a research tool while you're also making the opportunity to connect.
All righty. Our next question comes from someone here in our actual studio audience. Julie Slack is joining us tonight, and everybody's in town, so they're here for this show. Anyway, she has a question, so if you can hit cam 2 there, George, and we can let her talk away. Oh, we can't hear Julie. She looks great, though. But here's her question. Regarding LinkedIn, it can be difficult to connect with someone who is not a first or second degree contact. Do you have any tips for connecting?
It is a challenge, and LinkedIn has made it even more challenging. It used to be that when you were in a group together, you could connect. That was kind of another default. But about 2 or 3 years ago, LinkedIn changed how they approached groups. In my personal opinion, I don't think they're nearly as robust as they used to be in the past. So it really does make it challenging. But remember, LinkedIn is a business. There's a total reason they've done this. Unfortunately, if you don't have any connections that you can, through your research, connect a dot, where LinkedIn tells you, right, that, George is connected to Dan, who's connected to Pamela, who's connected to X, right? If that falls flat, then that is one of the reasons you want to consider a premium account, to be perfectly honest with you. The in-mail capabilities are black and white when it comes to what you can do with LinkedIn. And then, of course, you can make that connection directly. LinkedIn has really put the hammer down on allowing us to reach out to anyone beyond, say, the second tier without having to pay for it. And it comes back to they're a company, and they have a database of which we want to participate. So what I have done in the past, I've been a premium member and I've been a non-premium member. I'm currently not a premium member, but sometimes I will just go ahead. If I know that I'm prepared ahead of time and I've made a list, go ahead. You can sign up for like 2 weeks free, and then go ahead if you do as much work as you can in that 2 weeks, right, to make some of those connections. But then if it makes it worth your time, invest that $60, $70, or $80, whatever that cost is now per month. I know there's different there's the job seeker one, there's the sales one, even the job seeker level, which is the lowest level. If you're just doing it to connect, can provide you up to 15 in-mails a month. So it may be worth your time to invest and make that investment at least for 30 days or 60 days, but you want to be prepared when you do it because you can quit at any time.
All righty. Okay. Next question. George, it's your turn.
Fred North says, if I use video, ironically, how slick does it need to be? Hopefully more slick than we are tonight, but
actually,
how slick does it have to be?
Making it available to your audience would be the first step. That's honestly what I love about the world we've lived in to a certain degree, or that we're in today, is that it does not have to be high production quality. You don't have to spend hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Obviously, if you're doing some of the work that some of our corporate partners do, yes, it's a totally different story. I think what's more important is that you've taken the time to research lighting, background, microphone use, all those different technical elements, so that you've played around a little bit to make sure that people can understand and see you as best as they can, even in your office, whatever you're using, or your studio. And it is interesting that we're having some video challenges. It's irony. I think this is the definition of irony tonight. But also what's probably more important, as George said, is audio. And we know this. It's actually statistically proven that people will watch crappy video, but they will bump out of a video if it's bad audio. They will get out of that thing so fast. So just do a little due diligence on how you're putting it together and make sure you have the proper lighting and they can really understand the words.
Okay. And that's why it's so important to us.
Yes.
Yeah. So Gary North asks, Pam, isn't it smart to set up a separate Facebook page to separate our private life from our professional life? A separate page for my voiceover world?
That's a really good question. It really depends on how you're using Facebook as a person or as a business. So I'll address this. It's easier said than done, right? So here's the deal. You can actually, on your personal profile, you can develop lists, and posts are then seen by specific lists. You can do that. It can be cumbersome, but it can be done. So that can be how you separate a little bit. Here's the thing. Technically, Facebook also states in their terms of service, you can only have one individual profile. Lots of people break this rule. And so because I work in the business, I have to recommend that. I just feel that's my due diligence to do that. Obviously, when it comes to your business, if you want to do any advertising or take advantage of some of those opportunities in Facebook, you have to have a business page. You cannot buy ads as a person. You can only buy them as a Facebook business page. And there's also other opportunities. There's now messenger bots, the Facebook Messenger, where if you haven't already experienced this as a consumer, we can actually start using Facebook Messenger as an email distribution system. There are so many robust opportunities to advertise through Facebook, but you have to be a business and you have to have managers set up or business managers set up to do that. So I'm always cautious at saying using too much of your personal profile as a business, because it does get a little muddy. I think especially in light of some of the conversations that have gone, very political over the past year and things like that. So it can be done with lists, but I still recommend doing as much as you can on a business page when and if you can.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I've actually just recently separated out my personal Facebook life from my business Facebook life by probably doing what Facebook doesn't want you to do and creating another Facebook profile.
Yeah. And a lot of people have done it, George. It's because with 2 billion people, it's a lot harder for them to manage. I mean, I'm in a unique situation in that I've worked in the industry. I came into social media as a marketer, not as a person, right? So I approach it from a slightly different perspective, always have and always will, just simply because I've been marketer first, person second on these platforms. So, and I'll be straight up, the less I have to manage, I'm a busy person. I got things going on, right? So I'm just very cognizant of how I post on my personal profile, what I post about. There are some things people will never, ever, ever know about me. And that's because I made that choice to never have those discussions on Facebook. I keep those for my real life world.
Yeah. It's the smartest policy to have, probably, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just know that for me, I needed to make the separation for me because I was very lazy with controlling what posts went online and which of those posts were public versus, friends versus.
It's not easy. The list thing, I commend people who do it well because it does take a lot of due diligence and prep on your part to set it up, right? And like I said, I've been on Facebook now since 2007, 2008. It was 2007. So I have a lot of friends. I think one of the things you want to start doing if you don't want to have two profiles and manage that is really looking at your list, really making I've done kind of over the past year to 2 years, a weeding out process where I think when I first started 10 years ago, I accepted a lot of people that on my friends list. And of course, that was before business pages. I was actually on Facebook before business pages were a thing. So I definitely shifted because now we have the separation capability. So I would say if you just want to manage one, you have to do the list. You can definitely set up a second one, but then you have to literally manage two. And that can be challenging as well. They all have their challenges.
Yeah, I agree. They both have their pros and cons. And I feel like I'd gone so far down the rabbit hole with my personal profile. I realized I was on there so long that I watched my baby be born on Facebook 8.5 years ago. And that kind of boggled my mind.
Yeah. Oh, I know. When I was on Facebook, my son was a teenager and that was all Facebook was. And then us old people got on and he left Facebook. So then he came back to Facebook as an adult. But I've seen the whole spectrum of millennials in the last 10 years. So it's just, and I wish I could give an easy black and white answer, but that is one of the challenges we have with all things social media is there is no black and white. There is no silver bullet. There's a lot of personal decisions you have to make. And going back to Dan's original comment about consistency, if you want to stay consistent, you have to understand how you're going to make that process work for yourself.
Totally. Dan, do we have you back?
I'm here.
Awesome.
All right. So anyway, Pam, this has been fabulous. And I knew people have been looking forward to this all week, knowing that they can hear a little bit more about social media because it's so important. It's certainly how we built this show was on social media.
That's right.
Do you consult privately and how do people get a hold of you?
I do a little bit here and there. I have a lot going on. Obviously, I have my main three, I guess.
It's just going to keep growing. Stop it.
So, the best way to get a hold of me is honestly, obviously, if you want to connect with me on the social platforms, I highly recommend that. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I tend to, obviously, that's where I connect with pretty much any voiceover person that wants to connect. I, like George, have some limitations with what I do on Facebook because I do treat my personal and business somewhat separately, though I have a really wonderful voiceover group of friends on Facebook. That's our industry, right?
That's right.
Friends, and then all of a sudden it doesn't matter. And of course, Twitter, you can always DM me and we'll get connected, that type of thing. But email is really honestly the best way to get a hold of me. Pam@muldoonmedia.com is the best way to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer some questions. And if there's a consulting opportunity that makes sense, or if you need a little extra, I'd be happy to, have that conversation. So whatever works. I'm a pretty open book when it comes to social.
All righty. Well, thanks for being with us tonight, Pam. It's been absolutely enlightening, and we look forward to having you on again when the world of social media changes completely in the next 2 weeks.
What is constant is change. Well, it's constant in social, so it'll be different again in 6 months.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, guys. It was fun. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
All righty. All right. Well, we're going to take one more break here and towel off, and we'll be right back to finish this thing out for good. We'll see you in a bit.
It's great.
Having dinner tonight? How about having some VO too?
Voiceover Body Shop.
Have some voiceover with your dinner tonight on Voiceover Body Shop, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Are we at minus 4 dB? We're at minus 4 dB on VOBS.
Before time began, there was VOBS.TV. Watch or else.
Learn the latest in voiceover technology, business, and good old-fashioned acting.
I really like your bracelet. It's awesome.
Hey, Paul, where did you get that watch?
That's really cool.
And a hamburger with no cheese, please.
Every Monday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, only on voiceoverbodyshop.com.
Learn the latest in voiceover technology,
business,
and good old-fashioned acting.
Hey, Paul, I really like your suit. Where did you get it? It looks good on you.
This is VOBS.
In a world of audio, two men knew what they were doing, or at least they have you convinced. They put the BS in VOBS.TV.
Not breaking through with your auditions? Ready to take your bookings to the next level? Get ready to dive deep into the VO Dojo's Voiceover to the Power of 10. How to bring 10 times more to your copy and deliver the depth and nuances that win the audition. Join working voiceover pro Tish Hicks, founder of the VO Dojo, as she gives you the tools you need to dig deeper and to deliver the results that get you noticed and multiply your bookings. This 90-minute virtual workshop will expand your voiceover career exponentially, going small, diving into the nuances of a piece of copy, and thinking big to move your career to the next level. It's much more than simple tips and tricks. It's a high-level training that gets you thinking like a seasoned pro and right to the heart of what makes voiceover effective. The kind of sophisticated and nuanced approach that makes the VoiceOver Dojo something you will not find anywhere else. Sign up today, VoiceOver to the Power of 10. Go deeper into your copy to get results that you've been looking for. On Wednesday, October 25th from 9 to 10:30 a.m., just a couple of days. Register now, it's only $47. Use promo code VOBS for $10 off. Next week on this very program, one of our favorite people because he just knows so much stuff about the legal aspects of this business of voiceover, and that is the attorney, voice actor, producer, floor wax, Rob Siglampaglia, voiceover attorney, author of VO Legal. A lot of people are in town for a big thing this week, and he's like, hey, I'm going to be there. It's like, okay, let's be a little bit more serious and let's talk about voiceover legal. So he'll be joining us next week. If you've got legal questions about voiceover, send them in to us at the guys at VOBS.TV, and Rob will be happy to answer those. Do you have a list of our donors of the week?
I can certainly access them and read them off to you.
Okie dokie.
Every single week. Of our donations that have come in recently, the ones that are floating to the top here include donations from Patty Gibbons, who is a sustaining donor from our PayPal donation site. We've got who's this? Is this Eric Aragoni?
Yeah, we've heard of him before.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
We really appreciate it. And we've also got donations from Brian Page, who's sustaining through our PayPal donation system. George Whittam, my dad. Thanks, Dad. Amanda Fellows.
Yeah, Amanda.
Also, yes. And Source Elements, that's actually a sponsor, but hey, it's in the list, so I'm reading it off.
Okay.
And last but not least, Shelly Avellino Voiceovers.
Another great voice from Las Vegas. Anyway, thanks a lot for all the donations, folks. It really helps, and it helps us technically, and it helps us get the show on every week, which is quite a feat in itself. Let's see what else. The show logs. We've got Jack DeGoli out there writing everything down we've said, and it will appear with the YouTube video tomorrow with time code of everything that we talked about tonight, especially the stuff that Pam covered. So make sure you go over to that and check that out.
The VOBS intro tonight was read by Jody Krangle.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Jody.
By the way.
One of the great Canadians there. And we also have a podcast of the show. It's on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, ewabs.podbean. That's EWABS.podbean.com. Take our survey too, folks. and let us know who you'd like to see on the show and how we can make it better. And if you want to be in our studio, like this huge crowd we had tonight who got to eat the treats that I bought this week, just write to us at the guys at VOBS.tv. Tell us you're going to be in the greater Los Angeles area and can make it into our studio, and we'll give you the secret address and the secret handshake and the code to get in here. Let's see. What else do we need to do? We need to thank our sponsors, but first we need to tell everybody that, believe it or not, George and I are the top experts on home voiceover studios on the face of the earth. And if you need help with your voiceover studio, all you got to do if you want to contact George is
georgethetech.com. It's all right there in one place.
And you can reach me at homevoiceoverstudio.com and email me at dan@danleonard.com. And we'll be able to help you out. Also drop off a sample of your audio so we can hear what it sounds like. Anyway, we need to thank our sponsors, Harlan Hogan's VoiceOver Essentials.
And we also have sponsorships coming in from, as I change screens so I can read, VoiceOver Extra,
Source Elements, VO2GoGo, and the Rehearsal app,
the VO Dojo,
VoiceActorWebsites.com,
and J. Michael Collins Demos for providing an uninterrupted live stream and bandwidth.
All righty. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. And next week, George will be back here, right?
I will definitely be back in the studio next week.
All righty. And so we're gonna call it quits for tonight. And thanks so much for joining us here on VoiceOver Body Shop. This is not an easy business. Voiceover, there's so much competition. You need information to make yourself more competitive, and that's why we're here. Keep listening, keep tuning in, and we will see you next Monday night, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 Eastern Time, and 8:30 in Newfoundland. That's going to do it for us. I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.